put together like a patchwork quilt or something. But to
Right.
think it weighed 12 tons, it was obviously quite. I think at that time, as you probably remember, lots of towns, cities, villages came up with something to celebrate the millennium, didn't they? It was a big deal when
All
we
right. Yeah.
turned to the year 2000. So
Yeah.
yeah, but I don't know about how big the ovens were. No, I don't. The last
Yeah.
one of these. Do you know where the word MayDay comes from? If an aeroplane is in trouble or a ship, they will issue a MayDay signal. Do you know where that comes from?
Um, I'm probably guessing it must have come from the month of May. Am I
No, yeah, that it's spelt like that, isn't it?
right?
MayDay. It's actually
Right.
from the French. Now, the
All right.
verb to help is like aider, aider. Er is at the end is spelled pronounced a, so aider, aider, and then
Mm.
m in front. M apostrophe is for me, from moi aider, help me. That's what it means literally
All
in
right.
French, Mayday. So of course it just became Mayday, didn't it? So yeah, so there's a few did you knows, um, and I'm pleased to know you're not superstitious. I
Yeah.
still think, just without going back to that, I was
Yeah.
apart from saying I think most of us, if we are really honest,
Yeah.
have some little things that we do or don't do because we just think, oh, I ought to do that. It worked last time, or I'm a bit frightened. You know what I mean? I just wonder if
Yeah.
most people have something
Yeah.
like that.
I think most people would. It's got me thinking now. What would be mine? Yeah, I can't really. But having said that, because you mentioned about the ladder, didn't you? You said,
Yeah.
you walk under the ladder. I, I, I make it a point of rule to be conscious of to be conscious of my surrounding when I'm walking or when I'm going somewhere or I'm doing anything at all. I
Mm.
tend
Yeah.
to be I tend to be really really safety cautious. For instance, if I'm walking on a dark street in London, not necessarily in London, but it could be anywhere, couldn't it? But I always make it a point that nobody is following closely.
Mm. Mm.
And I don't stand close to somebody when I'm stood at the bus stop. I just just those sort of things.
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
try to I just try to avoid situations where you know my safety could be compromised.
Yeah.
Really,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, I think that's very sensible. Very sensible. Yeah, we all have to be, especially with the number of mobile phone thefts these days.
Oh
It
yeah.
doesn't really pay to walk along holding your phone, does it? But
Oh yeah. I've seen that in
uh,
London where they've got these electric
yeah,
bikes,
yeah,
and they just ride along and snatch your phone and
and
they
snatch
they
the
go.
phone.
Yeah. So yeah. So
Not good. Not good.
yeah. So if I was ever in London again, I would not use my phone in public really because
Mm.
you never know
Mm.
where you could be a target. You could be a target anywhere really.
Mm.
Yeah. Especially crowded places or something. Yeah.
No, you got to be careful. Got to
You've
be
you've
careful.
got you've got to be careful these days. I mean,
Yeah.
it's the it, it's the rise in mental health related attacks as well, isn't it? You just can't predict it. You
No.
don't know who's going to be having an episode. You don't know who's not taking their medication. I mean,
Mm.
I say that with all sympathy because it is an illness, isn't it? But you don't want to be at the receiving end of some of these um, you know some of these episodes. Whatever they
Yeah.
might be going through. You don't want to be because
Mm.
at the end of the day, they've not done it out of hate. Of the day, they've not done it out of hatred or anything. It's just because they're ill. and the illness they've done it as a defect of
Yeah,
the
that
illness.
that that sounds like you're sort of excusing it, though.
You have to in a way though. You have to in a way
Mm,
because, all right. So, what can I compare it to? So it's like, all right. So let's look at other disabilities, right? So, if you saw somebody in a wheelchair and you're on a pavement, relative safety of a pavement, you would do everything in your power to make sure
mm,
that the wheelchair user is not put in danger because of you, because of
yep,
your own safety. So you'd put their safety ahead of yours, wouldn't you? Because you feel they're a little bit disadvantaged, not in a bad
yeah,
way, but, and as such, you look at mental illness. It could happen to anyone. It could happen to anyone. I mean, what does it take for somebody to act in an irrational way, or to act to make a decision, irrational decision that they've never done? I don't think it takes much. It only takes something to tip somebody over.
mm,
So it's not excusing it. It's just, what can you do? It's become part of life, ain't it? I mean, life's gotten really, really much more. What's the word I'm looking for? Much more hectic, much more critical. To
mm,
Well, we're living in critical times, aren't we? And as such, I mean, all right. So there was this incident about this guy in New York, and he actually pulled out a gun and shot somebody. He shot two couples, and his excuse was the war in Palestine. You think, that's affected him in a way that
mm,
nobody would have anticipated, nobody would have been able to predict. And as such, there are things that are affecting people. I mean, the riots in Stockport, was it Stockport? No, Southport. It affected a lot of people differently, and they took actions. And these are people that ordinarily might have been peaceful on a good day. But there are things that tips people over, don't they? Somebody's going through a nasty divorce. They're thinking about not losing their children to the other partner. They're left with nothing. Those are things that could, actually tip somebody over. And you could be a